Hello, welcome to my channel, Philly, and welcome to my kitchen. Today is Sunday, and I'm fixing dinner for this evening, and I'm fixing a favorite of mine, a favorite of my husband's, and that is classic meatloaf. So I do think meatloaf gets a bad rap. I think that there's lots of fun that's made of it, but I have to tell you that as a child, I always looked forward to meatloaf in my home. And when my mom would cook it, the aroma would fill the house, and I would be hungry from like the first 10 minutes that it was in the oven until finally it was done. And it's one of those, it takes a little while. So it would just hang around the house and just smelled so good. So I love meatloaf, and I know there's all different kinds of versions. I feel like my mom's version is pretty classic in nature. I changed up just two things when I started making it myself, and I know my sister changed up some things, so it's one of those recipes that you can make your own. And I'm going to get started right away because we do want to get it in the oven. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to do something a little different today because I'm streaming and I want to be able to get some things working for me at the same time. And I also don't like to waste food, so I want to use stuff that we already have here in the house. So let me get the meat for our meatloaf that's in the fridge. So down below you'll see the recipe, my mom's recipe, that I have just added a couple things to, and so you can check that out with all the measurements and everything. Today I'm going to be making a slightly smaller meatloaf. And so because of that, just get a bowl. Because of that, I'm going to be adjusting my ingredients accordingly. So I'm just cooking for my husband and I, and so using 1.5 pounds of meat is a lot of meat. So I'm just using 1 pound. Let me just take off my rings. This is one of those dishes that you've got to get your hands dirty in. So one thing I found out later in the years making my meatloaf is the meat you use does matter. So what I found is when we splurged a few extra bucks and got the better ground meat, whether it was the Angus or the organic, just something that was a little higher quality, it really did make the meatloaf taste even better. But certainly you can just use your standard ground beef. And I've used all different kinds. I've used, the lean ground beef. I've used the 85-15 ground beef. So the only thing with the 85-15 is that there is a lot of fat that ends up coming out and just kind of sits in it. And of course you take it out and you drain it. But today we've been splurging a lot with Thanksgiving. So today I got an Angus ground beef, and I did get the leaner, the 93.7. So one of the things I'm going to do, let me get another fork, is whenever you buy ground beef in a brick, and the thing that's nice about the bricks is they're convenient because they'll last a while in your fridge till you open them up. Of course, you can always pop them in the freezer. But one of the things I found is that they're very compact. And so it's really helpful to kind of take a fork and loosen that meat up because it's just really been smushed quite a bit. And I feel like it ends up, whether you're making burgers, whether you're making meatballs, whether you're making meatloaf, it makes it very compact, and that's not a good texture. So I want to loosen it up. So I'm just taking 2 forks. Oh, Archie. Yes, we're using, you know what's funny? You say that, Archie. So Archie said, oh no, I thought it was vegetarian. Welcome, Archie. I'm so glad you joined. Actually, it's funny, when I was picking this up today, I saw that they had that Beyond Meat right next to it, and I was chuckling to myself because, I thought, oh, you could try. I've never tried a meatloaf with that Beyond Meat. And actually, I will have to say, I've never ordered that Beyond Meat. I know my son has ordered it a few times. I think he got the Whopper. There's a Burger King, a fast food restaurant that makes their Whopper, and he said that was good. And I think my husband's gotten it a couple times. I just have not. And part of the reason is that I don't think the Beyond Meat is actually that much nutritionally healthier. So it's just not meat products. So I just figure if I'm going to have that burger, I'm having it with the meat. So we are using Angus ground beef today, and you can see that little brick, how much I spread that out. And what it'll help us do is it'll help us really make the meatloaf lighter. I mean, not lighter in calories, it'll just make it lighter in texture, because you are going to squish things together, but you don't want to squeeze and compact it. You want to keep a little airiness there. So again, I'm adjusting my measurements. So, and by the way, I did preheat my oven to 350. I'm using convection, and today I'm actually keeping it at 350 because I want it to cook just a wee bit quicker because of the stream, and this one does take a little bit longer, and I'm going to be cooking some other things, but I just want to make sure I get it done. So so the ingredients, we're going to be putting in an egg, a cup milk, small onion, 1 tablespoon Worcestershire, 1 teaspoon salt, 1 teaspoon dry mustard, no, I'm sorry, half teaspoon dry mustard, a 1/4 teaspoon pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon sage, and a 1/4 teaspoon garlic powder. So those are going to be the ingredients that are going to be going in. And did I say a half cup breadcrumbs? And then ketchup and thyme I'll talk about in a minute. So yes, people just Chef Archie was saying it's not for me, but people rave about it. And yes, I've heard people rave about it. But what I feel like with the Beyond Meat that it is has been more designed for is it's been more designed for people. I don't feel like it's been designed for people who are vegetarians, because most vegetarians, not all, but many vegetarians, they actually want to stay away from the meaty stuff. That's kind of why they stopped. So to have something that mimics meat is oftentimes not what they want. Now, there are some vegetarians that have done it just for health reasons, and so maybe they miss, and they want to get away from the poultry and the beef and the red meats and those. And so for those reasons, they very much might enjoy that. But I know with my nieces who are vegan and vegetarian, one of them's one of each, they really don't want to go into something that tastes like meat, because that's kind of why they got out of that. So I spread this out. So I'm just going to be adding a little bit less of all these things. Now you can't add a little bit less of egg, so that is going to have to stay put, but I'm going to get my milk out, and I will add a little bit less of milk. So let me get my little cup, because I do want to get this in the oven pretty quick, and I still have to get some potatoes ready. I'll talk about that in a minute. So so for the recipe, it calls for a cup of milk, so I'm going to put 3/4 milk in, since I'm just using a pound. And I'm also going to drop my egg in there and just give it a quick little stir so that I can break it up a bit. It's not a necessary step, but just anything that helps speed this up a little bit. So we have 1 egg. There we go. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a whirl with my fork just to get it going. There we go. So Archie, how was your weekend? Did you have a nice weekend? I know today by us it's super dreary, but yesterday was beautiful. It was really beautiful. And I'm gonna put a little under a half cup of breadcrumbs. So I'm gonna kind of just eyeball this and just put, since I just have a pound of meat, but usually you'd put a full amount. And just plain breadcrumbs. Of course, you can zhuzh it up and you can add seasoned breadcrumbs. So this is really, except for 2 things, this is what my mom did. So I'm just keeping it very basic, because to me, when I have this meatloaf, it reminds me of being a child. It reminds me of the excitement of having meatloaf at home, and I loved this dish. So I'm keeping it pretty standard. I'm gonna put my milk and breadcrumbs in there. And then I'm also going to add the rest of my items. I'll get my onion cut in just a second. I'm going to put in, let's get it all here. We've got Worcestershire, garlic powder, dried mustard, thyme, sage. I will be needing this, this ketchup at the end. So let me just get some of these things measured on in. And when I need my salt. So a teaspoon of salt, so I'll just go a little under. Well, I'm going to keep that pretty true, because usually it's a teaspoon of salt per pound. Usually this recipe calls for 1.5 pounds of ground meat. And then I'm going to get some pepper, black pepper, It's not opening up. There we go. Just a 1/4 teaspoon of that. And then I'm also going to put in a 1/4 teaspoon of sage. I'm going to keep probably the seasonings steady on because I like a well-seasoned meatloaf. And then also a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. There we go. And a 1/2 teaspoon of dry mustard. Let me get that. Oh, so Amy's putting up Christmas decorations. I know, we have them in a storage closet outside the city. So that's one of our duties this week, is to get those boxes and to get the tree so that we can put it up. Being in the city, we do not, I gotta still put that in, we don't put the tree up, live tree up anymore. We used to do that. We actually used to go searching for the tree and we'd get a fresh cut tree. It was always quite the event, and oftentimes it was snowing, which was super cool. We do it the first weekend after Thanksgiving, and then we are, I forgot my tablespoon. We're going to have a tablespoon of Worcestershire, so let me get that. But that's an exciting time. I love the transformation of the house into Christmas. I just feel like it warms it up. It just makes it so pretty and inviting. And with it getting dark so early, I think the holiday decorations just really, they bring that something. Okay, so I've got all my stuff. All I need now is my onion, so I'm just gonna quick dice that up. I probably should have diced that first, to be honest. But we'll get that diced in no time. So it's funny, my one son, I think David would eat this. I mean, he didn't love it, but he would eat it. Matt was never a fan of the meatloaf. And one of the reasons he wasn't a fan, I think actually he'd be okay with it now, but one of the reasons was the onion. He's kind of newer to the onions now, and he prefers onion raw. He doesn't like it cooked. I never had a problem with the onion, and actually I like the texture in the meatloaf personally. Like, truly, I do. Oh, I don't know what I was thinking doing that.
He likes it small, too.
Yes, he likes it really small. So I remember as a mom, I tried like making without onion, but then we didn't like it. We tried this cheeseburger meatloaf that was just really rich, and to me, not a meatloaf. I mean, it wasn't that it was bad. It's not what I wanted. So it was this whole thing of trying to, make my kiddos happy, but also still make my palate happy. And I think because this meal so much just harkens from being a child, this was really a hard one for me when my kids weren't big fans of it. And Andy loves it too. And I think my meatloaf is very similar to your mom's, right? Yeah. So it's funny. We've had a couple of things similar, from our childhoods. The stuffing our moms made at Thanksgiving was similar. Our meatloafs were similar, and then he and I both grew up. But for him, it went like from a different route with what were those cabbage rolls, Hungarian cabbage rolls. So anyway, so it was funny. We had these things like, oh yes, did you have that growing up? All right, so I'm going to take my onions. I do not like to make my onions too small because I like the texture, and just putting those all in there. And then the fun stuff. The fun stuff is getting it all mixed up. So I start by using my fork to, again, kind of get everything mixed up, keep it a little light, and then my fingers are going to go in there, and I'm going to squish, squish, squish. This is one of those meals or dishes that you got to get your hands dirty, like with meatballs, things like that. Now, I will say that one memory I have from making meatloaf, because we make it regularly, is get that, and I didn't do that this time, get that meat out of the refrigerator a little bit before, because one thing I do remember is making meatloaf and my hands being ice cold because the meat was so cold. So do get it out. Okay, so now I'm just going to get my hands in there. So what I'm going to do, so this is what it looks like so far, but I'm going to get my hands in there. What I'm going to do today, I'm making a smaller loaf, and I want to do double duty. I want to cook some potatoes while I'm making my meatloaf. And frankly, I got the leaner meat, but there is going to be some drippings that come out, and I'm all for that going on my potatoes. So I'm actually I usually use a loaf pan. I mean, Really, I always use a loaf pan, wouldn't you say? But today, I know a lot of people that don't use loaf pans. I'm not going to use a loaf pan today because number one, it'll help in a way it cook quicker because the air going around, especially my convection. But then I can put the potatoes around it, and those can cook in the same pan.
So you're not going to use the loaf pan, huh?
I'm not.
So how are you going to form it?
You actually just form it and then you plop it. So we're forming and plopping.
It's a little bit outside the...
I know. Anytime I switch things up, my husband gets a little bit concerned.
You get nervous.
He doesn't like change. You don't like change much, do you? So yes.
A glass of wine?
I would love a glass one, but I don't think we have one open. No, I was thinking actually, what about there's a Merlot in the cabinet? So I'm just taking my hands and I'm squishing it a little bit, just making sure it's all together. And then I'm going to turn this onto my pan and form myself a loaf. Again, usually I pop it in a loaf pan, but today I want to do double duty in that oven. All right, so I'm going to dump this out. Let me put it here so you'll see it better. I know right now. There we go. And I just did a little cooking spray on here just to help with the cleanup. I know Hubs will appreciate that. Yes, right? Is that Merlot? Yeah. I know. All right, so we dump this out. There we go. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of form it. It doesn't have to be perfect. What I'm trying to do is get some uniformity so that it cooks evenly. So I'm making it look loafy. And I want room for my potatoes. So I'm smoothing it a little bit. Got a little crater there. Get that covered up.
What'd you say?
Oh, I was just talking about forming. And that's fine. Let me wash off my hands. All right, let me get some soap.
Looks pretty normal.
Looks pretty normal. He's suspicious. He thinks I'm messing with the original formula too much. I'm not. I'm just literally not cooking it in the loaf pan. Everything else, and it's smaller because there's just two of us. And we have a busy week, so we don't need a lot of leftovers this week, right? We were talking about that earlier. Okay, so this is now what I do differently. This is one of the things I don't think my mom did. In fact, I'm pretty sure at least a couple of things she didn't do, but to be honest now I don't remember, so she can correct me if she sees this. So what I like to do, because this is gonna sound so silly, but it's just what I do, so I'm just sharing it. So I sprinkle some more sage on top, and I use the rub sage, by the way, and I sprinkle some thyme, and then I spread, which I know a lot of people do this, I spread ketchup all over it. But for whatever reason, I just love, honestly, the concentration of the sage and the thyme on top. And so usually, so I don't know how much I sprinkled there. I sprinkled some. And now I'm going to do my thyme. Oh, that's the type of thing, so I'll have to be more.
That's time for time.
Time for time. And I don't know. It's so random, and I don't know when I started doing it, but I really love the flavor that you get right there at the top. So now I'm going to kind of pat it in, spread it around, and then that with the ketchup, I don't know, it just brings me happiness. So that's why I do it, right? We do these things for happiness. This isn't a chefy thing to do. It's literally just something I tried once and I liked how it tasted, and he was fine with it. So now I'm just gonna squirt ketchup and I'm gonna smooth it over. Of course, this is good. And we always need plenty of ketchup for.
I'm a ketchup guy.
Yes, you are a ketchup guy, and we always.
What is it about this?
I know. I think it's horrible. I think we've mentioned it already there, but it's horrible.
It's disturbing.
I know. I think we've talked about this, but every time I get out the ketchup, I cringe. It's just terrible. Why would we call that tomato blood? But anyway, so, and actually in that sense, I actually feel sorry for my vegetarian friends because they're like, really? You have to bring something like meat-wise into a vegetable dish. Not dish, condiment, excuse me. So anyways, I'm just gonna spread this. Oh, We're not trying to frost a cake, and usually I don't even go the sides because it's in a loaf pan, so I'm really not going to worry about the sides so much. I might try to bring it down just a little bit. But what's nice is the ketchup gets it like gets almost a little bit caramelized, and it just tastes super good. And I realize my voice sounds horrible still. That second cold really, my poor, like this whole area is just so done with the cold, the RSV. This whole area is like, if flu or COVID even come close to me, I think my body's just going to be like, I'm done. All right, so our meatloaf is done. We're going to let it sit for a second while we get our potatoes ready. So I'm just going to put it here. And our potatoes. So usually I would bake a potato with meatloaf. That's our tradition. That's what we do. We usually bake potatoes. But with Thanksgiving, we've got some yellow potatoes left over. And yellow potatoes aren't really good baking potatoes. They're better for mashing or roasting. So I'm going to roast them. I love skins on potatoes, but because of the drippings and everything, I'm actually going to take the skins off because I just feel like if we toss them a little bit, they'll absorb that flavor better. So, but we don't need perfection. I'm just going to quickly take the skins off of these potatoes, and I'm going to toss them with some olive oil and some salt, pepper, and a little bit of thyme. Actually, I need a vegetable peeler. My vegetable peeler is terrible. Would you get out the fresh thyme actually in the fridge, sweetie? Mm-hmm. There we go. It's time for the fresh thyme. It's time for thyme. So in a regular oven set at 350, and if you used 1.5 pounds ground beef, it would take anywhere from an hour to like an hour and a quarter to cook. This should take anywhere from like 45 minutes to an hour. I don't expect it to take an hour. Oh, the thyme is, I think, up top. Is it in a plastic container? Like it's, or no, just, oh, that's it. Yep, that's the thyme. You found it. Did you try the wine?
I did.
Is it good?
Yes.
I gotta try it. Let me see. No, I like Merlot. That's good. All right. So I hope everyone who, I know Archie, you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, but I hope everyone in the States had a great Thanksgiving with your family, and I hope everyone's getting home okay. I know there were a couple storm systems that were brewing around the States that could hamper travel back. I know, actually, because we look out onto traffic, it looks pretty clear right now. It looked a little heavy earlier when I was looking out, but right now, everything looks pretty good. So I'm not sure how the airports are doing. But I feel like especially with Thanksgiving being a little late this year, I feel like now it's going to be the big rush for Christmas, which always gets me a little panicked. I'm not going to lie, just because I did do a little online shopping on Black Friday, but still have much to do. All right, so I am going to dry my potatoes because I don't want them wet, and then I'm just going to cut these probably just in half. All right, so we can get this done super quick. I'm going to cut my potatoes in half. And I'm going to take off some of the thyme from the sprigs. Oh, I'm gonna have to rewash that one. We got a runner. Let's rewash that. Okay. So let me get some thyme. This is thyme left over from when I was making the stuffing. Let's see here. Get some of these off. There we go. All right, I'm just gonna run my knife through it real quick. So we had put thyme on the meatloaf, so I had thyme in my fridge, so we are adding thyme to the potatoes. That'll just keep that theme. And then I'm just going to add some salt, pepper, some fresh ground pepper this time. I won't be using as much. And I'm going to add a little olive oil. Now I know these potatoes won't be as good as the one that you make, Archie. If you want great English potatoes, you need to check out Chef Archie Pie, who was commenting here on the stream, because I have got to make that recipe sometime. They look absolutely fabulous. And it's funny, you know, I'm a big fan of Emily Blunt, and she was on this new show of Ina's, and they were talking about these potatoes that she made that Ina had that, you know, Ina just loves, and she thinks she makes the best potatoes. So this was after I watched your video, Archie. So then I thought to myself, oh, like I didn't realize, like this must be, I know yours, everyone has a little different turn on it, but it must just be a regional way of how people make potatoes. So I checked them out and I thought of you, but I'm gonna make them your way sometime, definitely. All right, so my potatoes are done. I've tossed them with salt, pepper, some fresh thyme, and olive oil. If you don't have fresh thyme, just leave it out, or you could use some dried thyme. Really, you can use whatever you fancy. So, and now I'm just going to place them around my meatloaf. The juices will come out, the fat will come out, and have fun with the potatoes, and that will be yummy. Which one's skinnier? There we go. This, I didn't put it close enough to the side over there. That's fine. I'm just going to drizzle some of this. Doop, doop, loop, 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 loop. Because I don't know how much fat's really going to come out of this anyway, since I got, you know, the lean one. So, and now it's going in the oven, and my oven's preheated, so it's ready to go. It's preheated at 350. And like I said, I'm using convection, and I'm not correcting the number. I'm not correcting it to 325, which is what I would usually do, because I actually want to cook a little bit quicker because of the stream. So, and you know what, I find with a lot of recipes, especially savory ones, that you can adjust it a little bit with little ups. Oh, I didn't. Oh, I took my rings off. I got worried, like, where are my rings? And like, I took them off. So yeah, so I'm gonna set the timer for 45 minutes. Because that is what I think is going to be the magic number, but we shall see. So I'm going to tidy this up a little bit and make our vegetable accompaniment. So let me put away some of the materials, the ingredients we have here. I do need my cutting board. Just get rid of this. So again, I'm using things that are left over, ingredients that are left over from Thanksgiving. And one of the things my sister left me because she had brought it, and we had, oh my gosh, we had so much food on Thanksgiving, and my niece has brought these amazing vegetable side dishes. We just had so much delicious food. It was quite delicious and filling and all that good stuff. Everything Thanksgiving should be. In any event, my sister left me these, and I don't know if you're still watching, Archie. But look what you left me. And so when you posted your post about slicing Brussels sprouts for the first time, I was giggling, because this is from one of my favorite stores around the area that we can't get to easily in the city, but called Wegmans. And a lot of our stores actually will slice the Brussels sprouts and have them all ready for you. So she had 2 bags of these because she had brought them just in case we thought we needed more food, which we didn't. We had so much food and we had so many vegetables. So we didn't end up needing these. So she said, can I leave you one? Because like, I'm not going to be able to eat all this. And I'm like, absolutely, because I love Brussels sprouts. So in a second, I'm going to show you the way I saute Brussels sprouts to make them super tasty. And I've done them a bunch of different ways. So today I'm just going to talk about one version, but talk to you about other ways that you can make them and make them delicious, because it's kind of like a good base that you can add lots of flavors to make them super yummy. And so for me, I actually do these in a pan. But first, let's tidy. Okay, let's get my spoons here. Got that. All right. I'm going to need this shallot for my Brussels sprouts, so I'm going to leave that there. All righty. Oh, goodness. That's a bit of a mess. So, what was I going to say? What I'm wondering is, if you're watching, what are some other of your childhood dishes that you still cook or that are favorites, or the ones that used to absolutely aromatically drive you crazy in such a good and positive way when you were growing up? Meatloaf was one of those for me. Do you know what another one was for me? And this is just going to show my age and show the generation that I was in. But my mom, actually, I will say, as a young girl, a lot of moms were not working. There were some moms that were working, but a lot of the moms weren't. And my mom was a working mom, and most of the time, you know, she had a job and was working outside the house. And so back in the day, they called us latchkey kids, because we would let ourselves home from school. We had keys to get into the house and such. I feel like that was such a great role model for me, because as a woman growing up, I just, you know, she was always there for us when we needed her to be, but I also saw that she had her own life, her own interests, and her own career. So that was something I think super cool. But in any event, being a working woman, she had shortcuts during the week, because, you know, very much, I think the cooking of that day, at least in our household, was meat, potatoes, veggie. It was like you had your meat, you had your starch, and it wasn't always potatoes, but you had your starch and you had your veggie. And every meal had that, right? And so, but there were a couple quick meals that she did prepare, and one of them was hamburger helper. And honestly, I loved hamburger helper. And I especially remember hamburger helper, and it seemed like she always made it on piano night. So my sister and I both had wanted a piano, and that was a big family present that was received. I don't remember how old I was. I was in grade school, upper grade school. In any event, and I started taking piano lessons, and my sister did too. And I remember it seemed like whenever I had piano lessons was the night my mom was making hamburger helper. And so I'd be sitting there trying to concentrate on my exercises and the runs and things I was doing on the keyboard and my songs, and I would smell the hamburger helper cooking. And while a lot of you might look down your nose on that, it just smelled so good and yummy. And, you know, by then you're hungry, and that's just a great memory. I just remember that. So my favorite hamburger helper was, I think, just I think it was like stroganoff, whatever that one was. Did you have hamburger helper growing up, sweetie?
No.
Not at all?
That was our gourmet dinner in college.
That was your gourmet dinner in college?
Yep. That and tuna helper. Don't judge.
I know. No, it's the fact. So a lot of you know that I love almost every food, and I love seafood, and I love raw tuna, and I love grilled tuna, but I do not like canned tuna whatsoever. Did I mention at all? And so tuna helper, you just ruined the helper for me. But yeah, so, but you like, and you also, didn't you like tuna salad too?
Yep.
Yeah. And in fact, I think, you know what's funny? I think my sister because she liked canned tuna, and I think my sister used to ask for tuna helper, and we'd get in this fight of, no, don't get it, because in my family, when something was made, that is what you ate. There weren't, you know, any, you know, secondary meals that were cooked. It was like you ate that or you ate nothing at all. And so, yeah, I was not a fan of tuna helper. Kind of, and so I still have problems with canned tuna. Like, I feel like I should at someday try supposedly you can get this really good tuna in oil that's a canned, because I know, like, you know that. No, but I mean like good one. So you know the place that we like in the city, Bloomsday? Well, they have tinned fish, which is basically like different fish that have been canned, but those are like more expensive and they're, you know, in olive oil and they're premium and this and such, but I just get the heebie-jeebies because I think about canned tuna. I also went through a short phase when I was in my 20s because I love salmon, of trying canned salmon, which wasn't as bad as canned tuna for me. But then when I realized that all the bones just were in there and people were like, yeah, you just eat them. I was like, oh, like I just think sometimes with fish, we kind of make some mistakes. I don't know. So you have to let me know if you like that sort of thing. And maybe you have a brand or something I should try and I can get over it. I will say I never liked anchovies, really. Like I liked it in Caesar dressing, but I didn't like them just laying anywhere. But we've gone to some restaurants where they are, I think, are more salted anchovies. Like they're nice ones, and I can appreciate them. So there's always room to kind of broaden your taste. Okay, so thank you for letting me tidy this up because frankly we have the time. And if I start the Brussels sprouts, they'll be way done before my meatloaf. And I don't want them to not only, you know, be overcooked, but also sometimes green vegetables, if you cook them too ahead of time and you haven't blanched them, they just get that like yuckier color of green. You know what I'm saying? They're not as bright green and they get kind of that olive green. So I want them to stay pretty. All right, so I'm gonna just rinse this and then I'll start prepping. So yeah, so my mom being a working woman back in that day, you know, she had definite shortcuts that she used to get dinner on the table. And occasionally, hamburger helper was one. I remember because we were in, you know, different activities, you know, growing up, and there were times that we wouldn't all be able to eat dinner. I also remember heating up, was it Chef Boyardee? Oh my goodness, the SpaghettiOs, which I don't think I'd ever want to have those now. And the raviolis. Did you ever have any of that when you were growing up?
Oh God, yes.
And I would try to zhuzh it up. I would try to like add some extra herbs, and they were of course all dried. Not that they could really revive that. And I would add extra cheese, but really it was just Kraft Parmesan cheese. And it was just funny. It's just funny, but hey, it fed us and got us ready, and it gave us perspective, right, on foods. All right. There we go. Okay, so our Brussels sprouts. So these are already, they call them shaved. They're really just sliced thin. So these are already sliced thin. You could take, I've also sliced them manually before, but that's just what my sister had, so she gave that to me. So just take some, and this is a lot. This is actually, let me see how much is in here. This is almost a pound of Brussels sprouts. So this is quite a bit. But if you have Brussels sprouts, you just want to slice them up, slice them as thin as you can go. They don't need to be mandolin thin. They just, you just want to create a lot of texture. And then I'm going to actually mince up a shallot. You know I love my shallots. And I feel like you could use an onion. I just like the flavor the shallot gives. So let me just take some of this off. And I'm just going to chop it up, mince it up. I don't mean mince. I just mean chop a little small. But I could slice it. I like shallot sliced sometimes too. Let me see here. If you're just joining us, welcome. And we are making meatloaf today. I'm making my mom's classic recipe that I've added just a couple different touches to from over the years. And it's already in the oven. And it is cooking with some potatoes that I have peeled and cut in half. And I put it on a baking pan so that as fat renders out of the meatloaf, it can help flavor the potatoes that are roasting alongside of it. And so that's already there to go. If you want any of the ingredients, please look below, and it shows everything, and it shows the directions as well. We did not use a loaf pan today because I wanted to put potatoes on there, but usually I use a loaf pan. And so now we're just preparing the vegetable. So I've got a shallot here that I'm peeling. So when I make Brussels sprouts, today I'm not going to be using bacon or pancetta, but oftentimes I will use a little bit of bacon or pancetta and render its fat, and that'll be the base flavor. So, you know, as you know, with any kind of dish, it's building those layers of flavor. And today I'm not doing that. I have some in the freezer, but you know what? Again, just trying to keep things a little simpler. We've been eating lots of yummy meals over the weekend, and I'm just keeping a little simpler with just meatloaf, the roasted potatoes, and I didn't feel like we needed that layer of flavor with our Brussels sprouts today, but that makes them very yummy. So if you are wanting to do it over the top, use some chopped pancetta or some bacon. You don't need a lot. Actually, a little bit goes a long way in just adding the flavor. And what I like to do, which is what I did with my leftover pancetta from the other weekend, is I like to keep some in the freezer and then just be able to take out what I need for a recipe. So I'm just going to get these chopped up. But this will be our first level of flavor. And so we're going to saute these in some olive oil, and I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of red pepper flakes. I don't always sprinkle red pepper flakes when I'm making these Brussels sprouts, but since I don't have the pancetta or the bacon flavor, I feel like I want a little bit of the heat flavor, right? I'm not trying to make these hot and spicy. I'm just trying to develop a little bit of background flavor to it. So what I do typically is I have that base flavor, which is typically pancetta or bacon, to the end. Then I add onion or shallot. Shallot's usually my choice, or red onion. I just feel like that has a little more flavor too. And today, though, starting with the onion, I'm going to be adding the red pepper flakes. That can go with when you're doing the bacon and pancetta or not. And then we'll be sauteing our Brussels sprouts until they're done. I do not like mushy Brussels sprouts, so I want them to be crisp tender, which is why I've got to wait a little bit till I get these started, because I don't want them to overcook. Then what I do when they've just started to, and you'll see this when we're cooking, unfortunately, my camera is not connecting today. There's always a tech issue. My little camera that I put over by my stove is not connecting to the app today. So I tried getting it connected, it won't. So I'll just show you, I'll bring the pan over so you can see. But one thing I like to do is I like to add a little bit of vinegar. And oftentimes I use balsamic because balsamic adds such great flavor and color. And so I'll reduce some balsamic vinegar in there, which adds another layer of flavor. And then I do often like to add some sort of nuts at the end. So today I went into the freezer and I had these nuts, and they're actually, well, I'll taste one now just to make sure they taste okay.
Wait, give me one.
Well, I can't because you have to get in the freezer then because we need these for them. So these were made by our daughter-in-law last Christmas. They still taste delicious, I gotta say. Here's a tiny one. Here's a tiny one.
You did that on purpose.
And I actually have to hide these from him in the freezer so I have any for cooking, because she gives us a huge amount and he gobbles them down. And they are cinnamon, sugar, deliciousness. And she makes a ton in homemade and she gives them out, and they are so, so, so good. She makes them with her mom. And so I keep them in the freezer in a airtight container, and then I get them out for salads or whenever I want to add them to a recipe. So I like adding nuts at the end to my Brussels sprouts, my sauteed Brussels sprouts. And so these will add just a little bit of sweetness, which I kind of like because I'm going to add a little spice with the red pepper flakes, and then we have a little sweetness afterwards. I also many times like to add some cheese. Today, because I feel like these have so much flavor, I'm not going to be adding any cheese, like any pecorino or Parmesan at the end. But that's another layer of flavor that you can add towards the end. You could add them instead of nuts. So what I want you to think of with these sauteed Brussels sprouts is just really creating lovely flavors around them. And then the Brussels sprouts kind of create, They create that the structure of the dish, but all those flavors swim around them, and they are phenomenal. So if you ever thought you didn't like Brussels sprouts, maybe when you see them, and even if they're roasted in bacon and halved and crispy on the edges, you still don't like them, then try them sliced and sauteed, because the texture is totally different, and I just think you might like them, especially depending on the flavors you put with them. So I hope that you try them. But this is what we're going to do. So we'll have shallots, red pepper flakes, Brussels sprouts, balsamic vinegar. Ooh, and I know what I'm going to do. Aha. So not only do I like lots of different flavors. I like different flavors of mustards. I like different flavors of oils and vinegars. So this is a vinegar that we've gotten, I think, as a gift. Yes. So I could use the balsamic, which would be delicious. I'm going to use the black fig vinegar. That sounds really delicious. This is a really good vinegar. I actually think we got this from my daughter-in-law and my son. Yes, that's what I'm going to reduce it in, is that. So, but you could just use balsamic, but this one will just be nice. It has like that sweetness, but that tang, so it'll be perfect. So I'm going to keep this out so I don't forget. And I'm going to add a little bit of garlic once I get those onions. But let me check and see how we're doing, because I just don't want this to get overdone. So let me see here. Okay, 20, yeah, so we still have a lot of time. Let me see. So, by the way, oh, DS! Oh, thank you. You're late to the party. So I am in a lull right now because I can't start my Brussels sprouts. Welcome, by the way. Thank you for coming, DS. And so Archie had come at the beginning, and I'm now waiting. I can't fix my Brussels sprouts yet, or they'll be overdone before my meatloaf is done. So how are you? How was your Thanksgiving? What was your favorite dish? Did you host it, or were you bringing dishes elsewhere? And then what was your favorite dish? Your stuff. So I think you hosted it, because I remember looking at your pictures and it looked beautiful. So we are making classic meatloaf here, and it's in the oven with some potatoes that are roasting. I'm checking them out. And just like we said, the fat is rendering out and going to help flavor those potatoes. So you'll have to let me know how your Thanksgiving was. Also, and by the way, if anyone else is there and wants to pop in and say hello, would love chatting. If you prefer to just watch from afar, that's totally okay too. But I do appreciate you coming to visit, to pop in and see how we're doing here. So, oh, I know. One thing I will tell you though, while we have this lull, is tomorrow I'm going to be dropping the schedule for December. So that is like right around the corner. And this week, I'm going to have another weeknight meal on Wednesday, and it's going to be a really flavorful, wonderful fall flavor meal. And it's the cinnamon pork with apples. And it was a Jeff Morrow dish. That's who created the dish. And it is phenomenal. It uses pork tenderloin, but you could use pork loin with it, and it uses apples with it, and apples and caramelized onions, and it is phenomenal. And it's quick. So one of the reasons, I mean, it would be a great weekend meal too, because it's absolutely delicious, but it's quick enough that you could cook it on the weeknight also. Alrighty. So was meatloaf your favorite dish as a child? Like, what was your favorite dish that your mom made that you would just go crazy when you would smell?
She made, the meatloaf was one, stuffed cabbages were the other.
Stuffed cabbages, yes.
And then she made like homemade meatballs with. Then she would put sausage like in the sauce. Mm-hmm. And
so like a Sunday sauce kind of thing.
Like a Sunday sauce.
Okay.
And I grew up in a very Italian town, and so we had a lot of friends who were Italian, so there was a lot of good recipes that were out there, friends that my mom knew, and even though we weren't Italian, but yeah, she had a couple great recipes.
That's awesome.
Hi, DS.
So DS says, my favorite thing on Thanksgiving is called, I gotta look a little closer so I can read it, is called pastelas. It's Puerto Rican tamale we usually make on holidays. Wonderful. So the tamale, is that made with the cornmeal, or I don't know if it's the corn, like because we had, remember, where are you? Remember the tamales we had on the Old City Fest?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They were so good. I've never had a Puerto Rican tamale. What makes it different? And that sounds absolutely delicious.
Love tamales.
So I got everything ready. Those are the nuts. Oh,
you sure?
We need them for they'll be gone. We'll have none for the Brussels sprouts.
Just remember, she makes those. She actually gives me my own tin.
I know she does.
I think I ate all those.
You did all those. And still on my tin I had to, or the family tin, I had to like reserve some. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I think I did eat all those. I forgot.
So I know your brother and you would fight over the Hungarian cabbage rolls, but did you fight over the meatloaf too? Or?
No, we used to fight over shrimp is what we used to fight over.
How did you fix the shrimp?
It was my dad would bring home the shrimp, and she would do them like you do. Just steam them and then.
Oh, so just like a peel and eat?
Yeah, peel and eat.
Okay. So that was the kind that she would do.
He would bring them home, and my brother and I would literally get into fist fights over the shrimp because we had our own separate bowls that my parents would set aside because they knew we would fight, and then he would steal one of mine or I'd steal one of his, and it just turned into a melee.
You steal some food? I can't imagine you doing that. That's shocking.
I know.
I will say,
it's hard to believe.
When I was younger, I did some food stealing too. So I remember.
Hello, Shelby. And Dia said we make it with plantains.
Ooh. Oh, that sounds amazing. So the place, it's interesting, the place that we had lunch yesterday, it's a Cuban place that, oh my gosh, it's the best.
Home
Cubano. Yeah, but the best Cubano.
Cuban cafe.
And they had fried
plantains.
What was the other one? Fried yucca. Fried yucca. Mm. And we were saying, we didn't because the sandwiches are so big, and we decided next time we were splitting a sandwich that we could try some of the other stuff because we couldn't even finish both of our sandwiches. They're just so big and so yummy.
Yeah. Make their own bread.
Yeah.
It's great.
Gosh, it's so
really
good.
Good place. So I love meatloaf, one of my favorite comfort foods.
It is.
Absolutely.
So a traditional one, DS, or anything special that you add to your meatloaf? Because mine is just my mom's recipe plus 2 little tweaks. So in fact, my sister, by the way, I'll share this. One of the things my sister does to help make hers moist, it's different than her mom did. I think her husband's mom did this, and this is why she does it, is she adds some tomato juice to it. Yes. She adds, yes, so she adds some tomato juice to her meatloaf. And now because onions don't like Glenn, she really puts very few onions in. And that would make me so sad.
What do you mean?
Because I love the onions in meatloaf. I love everything about them. So good. Ooh, you add yucca also. Love it. I have never cooked with yucca. I've enjoyed it at places, but I've never cooked with it. That sounds delicious. Oh, you'll have to show pictures. Make sure when you do that, DS, you'll have to take a picture and share it. Sounds very yummy. Let me see how everything's going here.
Smells good.
It does smell good. I know if I open the oven, it's going to affect the cook time a little bit, but I feel like I want to baste those potatoes with a little bit of that yumminess. So I'm gonna.
You're not doing mashed potatoes. So.
No, because I feel like. So I feel like I've had plenty of mashed potatoes over the past few days. I know that he has not, but I actually was like, maybe I'll do something different with the mashed potatoes. And why have I had a lot of mashed potatoes, sweetie?
What's that?
Why have I had a lot of mashed potatoes?
Because you could.
Well, because I could, and because, like, after Thanksgiving, he's super excited about all the leftover stuffing, which I do like too, but I'm super excited about the mashed potatoes because we just don't make them that often. All right, so I'm going to take this out and I'm going to baste it. Oh, it is hot. Holy moly. Just going to baste these a little bit. I don't know if there's much to baste. I was actually hoping there'd be more than there is. Oh my, I need a different spoon. Let me try something else.
Throw a little wine on it.
We would not throw a little wine on there. So I shouldn't take the view away. So I'm just gonna get a little bit. Yeah, this isn't really doing what I was hoping it would do. There we go. There we go.
I'm gonna leave this on for
This is not really working like I was hoping it would, but I think it's that getting that lean. So DS, we went with the lean ground beef just because we've been so indulgent lately, and maybe I shouldn't have because it's not really giving me much to baste my potatoes with. I know. I'll often, because, you know, I mean, I will always share with you how I cook. You know, you watch these cooking shows, and I think, and you're looking at most of the chefs, and they're of normal weight. So you're thinking, if I eat the way you're showing all the time, I will like weigh double. So I try to keep it real. All right, so I'm putting these back in. Keep that cooking. Let's see how that tastes.
I'm sorry, folks.
Shelby is hungry.
I am feeding Shelby because she is.
So let me see how much time.
Following me around.
So I am going to get started because we can always turn off the heat. So again, my apologies that my camera is not working. But now, kind of like spinach, these take up a lot of space. So when you're doing a lot of shaved Brussels sprouts, I highly recommend your biggest pan. So we're gonna let this pan come to temperature. And I'm gonna do a mix of olive oil and butter because I want the butter flavor. Now, if I was doing bacon, I would not be doing the butter just because I'd have the bacon or the pancetta flavor. But since I'm not, I definitely want to bring some flavor in this. That little bit of butter in there. And of course, the olive oil enables me, and you could use vegetable oil if you preferred, or grapeseed oil. The olive oil enables the temperature to go up a little bit so my butter doesn't burn. So we're gonna let that melt. And then once it does, we will add our shallots and our red pepper flakes.
So what are you doing with these? You're going to cook them in that vinegar?
No. I always do this. I always add a little bit of vinegar to reduce when I'm cooking those. Yeah.
So you're going to cook them in the vinegar?
No, you don't cook them in the vinegar. You add a little vinegar. Yeah, but like it sounds like you're pickling them. You don't pickle them. You just add a little vinegar for flavor.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So DS, I'm showing how I like to do Brussels sprouts, but I do them a variety of ways. This is just one of the ways I do it, but just finding different ways to build flavor to bring lots of yumminess to the Brussels sprouts. Okay, so my butter is ready and my oil is ready. And just so you can see, I'm just gonna be real, I don't go hog wild. If this was for company, I might have added more, but it's for us, so I do try to keep health in mind, just being honest. So I'm going to put my shallots in, and I'm going to keep the temperature high because I want them to get a little color. Sometimes you just want to sweat an onion or sweat a shallot, but for this, I want them to get some flavor. I'll keep that up. I'm going to bring my salt and pepper over there so I can use that for seasoning as we go. Put a little salt and pepper. And then add those red pepper flakes. And I don't want to make this spicy. I just want to add a background of flavor. So I just sprinkled a little bit. Let me just show you. Just sprinkled a little bit. I didn't go crazy. Because, you know, red pepper flakes aren't always for adding hot, like in your face spice. They're oftentimes just for adding that little bit of background heat. That means flavor. If you notice a lot of Italian recipes, they will add a little bit of the pepper flakes to almost everything, and you won't look at it as a spicy dish because they're just adding a layer of flavor. All right, so those are getting browned nicely, and I told you this comes together pretty quick, so I probably started this too soon, and we'll probably have to turn the heat off. So now what I'm going to do is they are getting nicely little browned edges, which is good, is in a second, I'm gonna be adding my Brussels sprouts, and I'm gonna be tossing those around and letting them wilt and letting them cook. But I don't want them to overcook because I want them to still be a little crisp tender, this part. So when you have the bigger ones, I want those to be crisp tender. These are very thin and they will actually get a little brown, but I want the thicker parts to stay crisp tender. So it looks ready, I'm gonna add it. And you can see why we needed that big pan. And now the best tool would be my tongs. I just wanna toss those. I forgot to add the garlic, so we'll be adding that later. Oh my goodness, and I have it right there. I was supposed to add it with my onions, but oh well, that's fine. And you don't have to add garlic. It would be fine with just the shallot. And you know what, maybe I'll do that because maybe that was the world's way of saying that my husband didn't want me to add the garlic. Because as you guys might know, I like garlic much more than he does. All right, so I'm just tossing those around and put my butter away. I'm not turning down the heat because I want those browned edges. I don't want this to steam. I want this to actually brown up. You just kind of keep moving it around. I'm gonna add some seasoning. I'll get my rings on. Pepper, salt, okay. What's that?
Those smell good.
Do they smell good? All right, and we're saving the nuts to add at the end. We'll put those over here.
Assuming there's any left.
Assuming there's any left. Assuming Hubs doesn't eat them all. Tidy this up a little bit.
That's on thicker.
Yes. Okay. Hi, Ruby. How are you? Welcome to the stream. I'm sorry, I just noticed that you joined. Thank you for joining and thank you for saying hi. And I love it that you know DS. He is wonderful. He is one of the favorite people I follow on Twitter. Welcome to the stream.
Boy, they're smoking.
So Ruby, we already have the meatloaf in the oven. We mixed up the meatloaf, a classic meatloaf, my mom's recipe. And I trimmed and put some potatoes around it to roast alongside the meatloaf. So I did not use a meatloaf pan. And right now, I'm sauteing up some Brussels sprouts to go along with. The first thing I did, I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. The first thing I did was brown some shallots. And then I did two butter and olive oil. And then I added some red pepper flakes. And now I'm going to add some vinegar. So you can use balsamic vinegar. I have this black fig vinegar, so I'm going to add that. Just add a little drizzle. That's it. It's going to make that wonderful noise. It's going to burn off so that really you're left with the concentrated flavor, which is delicious. It darkens it a little bit because that's a darker vinegar. Oh my gosh, these look good. Let me just show you how they look so far. So that's how they look so far. So they've gotten browned edges. They got a little darker from the vinegar. They are actually about done. I'm gonna add so I've chopped cinnamon, homemade cinnamon sugared pecans. I'm gonna add that to it. You could add any nut. You don't have to add nuts, but nuts are nice. They actually.
Do you want me to taste any more just to make sure?
Right.
So,
Shelby wants to taste, don't you, girl? Add just those nuts. I think the nuts, if you're not allergic to nuts, I think the nuts just add a nice crunchy element to this Brussels sprout side dish. I really do. I think it's really nice. And do a little taste, see how the seasoning is. Smells delicious. Let's see. That's so good. I love, you again get a slight back heat, not spicy, but just a little bit of a back heat from the red pepper flakes. But the Brussels sprouts are well seasoned. You get the sweetness from the vinegar, but a little bite, like not cloyingly sweet because it has the bite that the vinegar gives, but still has sweetness in it. And then the cinnamon nuts are so delicious on top. So Ruby says, do you still work with those celebrities? What? Yes. I don't know if you're still here, but please spill. What celebrities? I didn't know you worked with celebrities. And if so, which ones? I'm curious now. Thank you for bringing that up, Ruby. I think that's awesome. Ruby, did you have a nice Thanksgiving this past week? I'm going to bring this here so that it can hang out and not cook anymore. There we go. Take one more taste. Oh, that's so good. Very nice. Okay. I understand. We all need sometimes our privacy. So totally thanks. I'm glad you had a great Thanksgiving. What is your favorite food? What did you host? And what was your favorite thing you had this year? These were so good. Oh my goodness. Let me check on, see how this is doing. Getting close. Sorry for all the lag time today. It's just the meatloaf is just one of those that takes a little bit. So I knew I wanted to do some side dishes so that we'd have some fillers. And I thought about doing something with the potatoes that wasn't in the oven so that it would take up time. But I just thought they would be good roasted next to it. I'm glad you had a great Thanksgiving. That's awesome. I think I just want to eat these though. I might just take one more bite. He takes bite of my stuff all the time when I'm not looking on the stream, so. Okay. My goodness, that is so good. Okay. There we go. So we'll put the tray on this. So I will tell you that when you have a meatloaf, you truly, when you normally have a meatloaf, you'll want it to rest for 10 to 15 minutes before you cut into it. As you know, with the live stream, we will not be doing that because we have time issues. So we'll be cutting it to right away. But what happens when you cut into it right away is it kind of is crumbly, it doesn't stick together as much. So kind of like a lasagna or other casseroles, they do better when you just give them time to rest a little bit. And actually meats, like whenever we cook meats, we always let it rest too. So we won't be doing that because so you can see us try it, but that is an important thing. And I'm also realizing I put away the ketchup, and the ketchup is something we both eat with our meatloaf. Let's see here. Yeah, there it is. And I wish I would have kept it out because it would have taken the chill off of the ketchup. Your green bean casserole, wonderful. So Ruby, Do you make it a certain, like, is there a certain special recipe, or is it the recipe? Because I knew I grew up with a green bean casserole. Is it similar to that one, or is there a spin that you like to do on it? I love green bean casserole. Oh my goodness. That is delicious. Yes. Absolutely, DS. He's taking Shelby out right now to do your business, and she ate, but he'll be back in a second. And he's always stealing food, so I think it is definitely my right to continue to steal the Brussels sprouts. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Traditional. That sounds delicious. That sounds delicious. So Ruby, did you grow up on meatloaf, or is that something new to you? Or have you ever had meatloaf? Meatloaf is something that my husband and I both grew up on. I think that DS either grew up in it or is well aware of it and enjoys meatloaf. But there is a team no to meatloaf, which makes me sad because I love meatloaf. In fact, our favorite thing to have the next day is meatloaf sandwiches. That is kind of like turkey. You love having the turkey dinner, and then you like having the turkey sandwiches the next day. And that's how we feel about meatloaf, to be honest. Let's see. And let me take a temperature to see when that's done. Let's see. I feel like my thermometer has gotten so much use over this weekend with the turkey and then now the meatloaf. Love meatloaf. Wonderful. Well, I do think meatloaf is special, especially because oftentimes it's family recipes that get passed down. So I don't know if the meatloaf that you grew up on is similar to the meatloaf that I did. But my mom's was pretty basic, pretty, I think, common, if you will, with the ground meat, breadcrumbs, egg, milk, onion, Worcestershire, salt, pepper, dried mustard, and then we also added sage garlic powder, and then I add on top some sage and thyme, and of course some ketchup. I agree, DS. I think, well, you know why? Actually, my mom never liked Brussels sprouts growing up because her mom way back in the day, you know, people would just boil the vegetables and they would boil them too long. And this, whether it was green beans or Brussels sprouts or peas, I mean, I think people would boil them and they'd cook them way too long until they were mushy, and the color would change and they wouldn't be even appetizing looking. And that's how I think my parents were brought up on their vegetables. And then somehow in the midst of when I was growing up, there was something that changed in the preparation of vegetables. And so my mom, you know, maybe when I was little, she cooked them a lot, but really what I remember was her cooking them more crisp tender. And that's how they prefer them. And so once she had Brussels sprouts prepared in the ways we are accustomed to now, she loves them. But they are so far from the kind of Brussels sprouts that she was used to as a child. But I think Brussels sprouts are great. I think they can be used in a variety of ways. Okay, I'm going to give this a temperature check. I'm going to see how my meatloaf is doing and my battery is sticking. Let's see here. Yeah, it's not ready yet. It isn't ready yet, but I think it just needs like 5 more minutes. Let's see here. Oh my goodness, let's see. Let's see here, 5 minutes. Let's check it. So I want it to be at 160, and it was like in the mid 140s. So I definitely need to cook it longer. We don't want a medium or medium rare meatloaf.
It's not ready?
Nope. I just checked it. Does it smell good?
It does.
Well, you can taste the Brussels sprouts because they're ready, which is what I knew would happen. So they're all set to go.
It's beautiful outside. It's just...
Yes, those are Yukon Golds, absolutely. And those are the ones, so I was saying earlier on the stream, DS, that usually I make baked potatoes with meatloaf, which is kind of traditional. What we do is we'll do some baked potatoes, and I always do some extra that you can make into home fries like later on in the week. And but I had leftover Yukon Golds from Thanksgiving because that's what I like to use when I make my mashed potatoes for Thanksgiving. So I didn't want to waste them and buy potatoes when I don't need them. So I just thought I would peel them and roast them.
One of these?
Yeah. Let me know what you
good?
think. Let me know if it needs more salt. I don't think it needs more salt, but
Really good.
is it salted okay? Okay.
You know what it needs?
What does it need?
More of the salted nuts.
More nuts.
Or the sugary nuts, whatever.
I think you just want me to get them out so you can snack on them.
I just want to, because you hit them, I didn't know that we still had some left, so.
Well, they're not for consumption. They're for cooking. They're the ones left over for cooking. And you'll get some new ones soon anyway.
I hope.
Absolutely. So coming up, I know as I was saying, I'll be dropping my schedule tomorrow for December, and I know I'm going to be at one point putting in my cookie baking weekend. So I will be, and actually what I might end up doing with that is having a main day, but I also may or may not, depending upon how I'm feeling that weekend, just turn on the cameras like I did with the turkey prep when I'm already making the cookies, because there's usually a weekend that I just make all my cookies for Christmas and get them all done. But it's not just one day because it takes a couple days to do it. So I wasn't sure how far in advance do you guys do any of your holiday baking?
I do mine.
Oh, you're so sweet, DS. And your wife is blessed to have you as a cook. So DS said, just because I would hate for you to miss this compliment, my love, he said, Andy is blessed to have a cook like you in his life. He eats well.
I do.
And I told DS that his wife is also very lucky to have a cook in her husband. So he's kind of the cooking.
We're both lucky.
He's kind of cook. Does your wife do any cooking, DS? Or is it you that does most of the cooking? What are you fixing?
Nothing.
I don't think I've ever had a stream that had this much downtime. I'm kind of. I feel
Those
like
are going to get cold.
I know.
You're going to put them back on?
Well, but I don't want them to get overdone. And
Well,
then
how
look,
much longer is that going to be in there?
it should just be a few more minutes.
Okay. Well, those are going to get chilly.
They're gonna get, well, I'll put them back over here. The pan actually holds the heat for a little bit.
So did you always like Brussels sprouts?
Well, we never had Brussels sprouts growing up.
We had boiled Brussels sprouts.
So we were just talking about that. My mom had boiled Brussels sprouts, which is why we never had Brussels sprouts, because my mom couldn't stand them. So she never cooked Brussels sprouts. I mean, granted, she's not off the hook completely because she tried to swap liver for beef and beef stroganoff, so
That's just disturbing.
which is terrible, as we talked about the other weekend. But yeah, so we never had Brussels sprouts growing up. I remember the one thing that was a little suspect for me as, and I wasn't like a child. I mean, I was probably like an early teenager or 12, right around, beginning my teenage years, was when she started cooking a lot of broccoli. And I wasn't so sure about broccoli, but around that same, well, I do now, I love broccoli. But at the time, it was a little strong flavored for me. And so what she did, it was about the same time we got our first microwave. And so she was into making all of these sauces that you can make in the microwave because it was just like the new thing. And these are all the things you could do. So she made a cheese sauce. And so she'd serve broccoli with this cheddar cheese sauce. Well, I was all about the cheese sauce. So that's how I first started liking broccoli, was because of the cheese sauce. And now I don't know the last time I've had broccoli with a cheese sauce. But that was so ingenious because it totally got me on team broccoli.
So the Brussels sprouts, my mom would cook. She'd, whatever she did, she'd boil them or whatever. They were just hideous. And then she wouldn't cook them long enough. So not only were they just boiled, but they were just they were like eating like hard cabbage.
But I will say most people overcooked them and they were squishy and yucky.
I would have rather had that than, because I would have killed some of the taste. And then, you have this stuff, like later on, you get the Brussels sprouts that, they're browned and they have seasoning, it's like a completely different thing.
Yeah. So DS wants to know, and I have a question for you, DS. DS wants to know what's your favorite thing that I make, and I know that answer. I bet you I can answer that question.
Probably
Well, wait, pause a second. And DS, I want to know, because you were saying that you do most of it, but yes, she does. So what's the favorite thing you make that she loves? And you can even do vice versa. So so what's your favorite thing that I make?
So and not sucking up, even though I'm sucking up. That's a tough one. I think I would say I love as goofy as it sounds, I like the homemade meatballs.
I thought that's what you were going to say.
You thought that's what I was going to say?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I want for my birthday
always
dinner.
is my homemade meatballs and sauce. And it's not my recipe. I mean, I will always give out
it's
Rayo's recipe from New York City. It was in the Philadelphia Inquirer.
I thought it was New York Times. Okay.
No, it was back when we were getting the Philadelphia Inquirer in the suburbs, and it was posted once there, and I had heard Regis Philbin, of all people, I heard Regis Philbin talk about Rayo's, and I thought, I should try this will be good, and oh my gosh. So the recipe I use is from the paper. It is, I have not transferred it yet. It's like literally brown, because the newspaper has changed colors. It is the best spaghetti meatball recipe ever, and I will do that on stream sometime and share that.
But there's a bunch of other things too. That's a really good question and a hard one to answer, because there's, again, not blowing smoke.
Well, not only that, but I think part of the problem with me is I love trying new recipes. So sometimes we'll have something. Right. So sometimes we'll have something. He'll be like, "This is great. I want this again," and then I'll forget about it. I'll forget. And
then we'll have it like 2 years later, and I'm like, "This is great," and then we don't have it again.
So that's because I love trying new things, and we love so many different kinds of food. Sometimes I don't probably revisit things as much.
We need to start a little note section and just to write down. I know I say this all the time, but I really do.
The things I cook often, more often, are the things that I grew up on that I like to taste more.
So what's the favorite thing? What's the favorite thing that you like that you cook?
Oh, I don't know. I can't answer that question.
You can.
No, I can't.
You made me answer it.
No, but I can't answer it. It's my own cooking. But one of the things I love having that I grew up on was chicken paprikash.
That's a good
I'm just telling you, that's.
So is that the one?
So I don't know that I make it the best.
But is that your favorite thing that you make?
I don't know.
Come on.
I don't know.
Make the decision.
I'll tell at my next stream. I don't know. I really don't know. That's a really good question.
It is a good question.
I think what's hard is I'm really, I know. I think what's hard though is that, I don't know, DS, this is a good question for you. I'm really hard on my cooking. So I can cook something and I'll be like, oh, I got this right. But then I'll cook something else or even the same thing another time and I'll be okay with it. But there'll be something that's off, like a little bit too much of one spice or too little of this or whatever. And I'm always thinking about like the taste. And so because of that, I don't think I always appreciate what I'm cooking, if that makes sense. So yeah. So I think that's why it's hard for me to tell what I make. Because I feel like chicken paprikash, I don't think I make the best chicken paprikash, meaning I don't think I make it as good as my grandma did. And my mom, I don't even think I make it as good as my mom did. My mom made great chicken paprikash. But I do like it. So I make it and it satisfies me. But yeah, that's hard. That's a really hard question.
So next thing, you're gonna have to say what your favorite thing is that you cook for yourself.
I don't know. There we go.
Look at that.
So let me move it here so you can see it better. Yes, it should be done. I can check it, but I think it'll be done.
That looks good.
It does look good. And I always do this. I know you're not. Oh yeah. There's no way that's not done. I can tell. But I'll still do this just to make sure. Oh, it's done. It's probably a little done. I left it in just to make sure it wasn't overdone. I mean, that wasn't underdone because I didn't want to have to put back in again.
So it's okay?
It is totally okay. So let me get these back over. Pardon? All right.
Did you heat those up?
I heated those up, yeah. So we have got our traditional meatloaf. We've got our roasted potatoes. This is not usually how I do it. I did it because I wanted to use up the Yukon Golds I had. Typically, I'll put this in a loaf pan and I will, what's it called? Bake a potato. But a lot of people like their meatloaf with mashed potatoes, but we've just always done the baked potato for whatever reason. So usually you should let this rest. We will not be letting it rest this time. Let me get a little serving spatula.
It's a nice little baby meatloaf.
It is. Well, it's actually only, it's like two-thirds of what we usually have. Because we usually make it with 1.5 pounds meat. This is a 1 pound meat.
Okay.
So what I'm going first I'm going to get potato for each of us. Those will be super hot. So just know that.
So just plop the whole thing in your mouth.
Put a little bit of Brussels here. Okay, and we're going to do a little slicing. I'll slice here so y'all can see. And again, you shouldn't slice right away, but we are going to break the rules because, you know, it's a live stream.
Because you can.
So we're going to open that up. Oh, yes. So I'm going to go for this slice. It looks juicy. It has the onions, which I like. You can make your onions smaller. I like the texture of the onions. You could actually shred them. You could grate them. If your children don't want to see onions, then just grate it on your box grater. And then we're going to get a little ketchup, right? Because you and I both like it with ketchup.
I don't know which fork was which.
I didn't use mine yet.
Oh, okay. It doesn't matter.
So that's something. Okay, so this is, it almost looks like a face. This is our little trying plate. We've got the ketchup, the meatloaf, the potatoes, and the Brussels sprouts.
Dia said she loves my West Indian I can't say the word.
Trinidadian.
Thank you.
Chicken stew.
That sounds...
Ooh, that sounds amazing. I've never had anything like that. I would love that recipe.
That sounds...
And I still need to make, by the way, just so you know, I have not forgotten the, those little falafel. I'm still going to make that. And I'm going to try it in my air fryer. Okay, so yeah, we're going to try the potato first. It is going to be hot.
You can tell the steam just popped
I think I just need to let it cool a little bit. It's going to be so hot. They're plenty fluffy.
It's really hot.
It's really hot. The potatoes.
They're
good.
Those are really good.
So I don't usually do that, but that's very nice.
Yeah, that is.
Getting the flavor of the meatloaf there. And take some ketchup.
How is it?
It is just like I remember it. Every year, because we don't cook this in the spring, summer. This is our first meatloaf of the season. And it doesn't disappoint.
Tastes exactly, you're right. It's exactly like it should. Tastes like home.
Really yummy. Really yummy. Oh my goodness, so good. And you know what? So one of the things I like with this, because meatloaf has such that familiar homey flavor, potatoes are roasting in the dripping, so they marry that flavor. I like that the Brussels sprouts bring a brightness and like something different. Like, so they add some definite like interest.
Those potatoes are great.
They're good. Yum.
And I'm not an onion guy as much.
You aren't?
I mean, I like grilled onions on sandwiches and so
on our
forth.
cheesesteaks, you like onions.
Yeah, but I really like the onions that you can.
I like onions in meatloaf. Yeah. And feel. So just there, I got near the top where the you know, kind of almost caramelized ketchup is. I taste that thyme and that sage, which is why I put it there, which is so silly. There's nothing chefy about it. It literally is. I like those flavors. I put it near the top so it stands out when you get to the top part. It's
You always
really.
do that?
I've just done it. My mom never did it.
Yeah,
And I've always done that.
either. But
I know. It's just an Amy move. I'm not saying it's a good move. I'm just saying it's a selfish. I like the flavor.
it's good.
A move there. So thank you for joining us. The stream this week on Wednesday will be this cinnamon, this fall spices, pork tenderloin with caramelized onions and apples. It's amazing. And it's a quick and easy meal for the weeknight. Or it tastes, yeah, I know, isn't that good? It's a Jeff Morrow dish, or it's a great meal on the weekend also. So, and then I will be dropping the December schedule tomorrow. I actually have off tomorrow, so I'll have time to do it. And
I said, "Mommy, I tasted that," and said, "Sorry, I tasted it."
Hey,
Great dish.
actually, it is like Mommy, because I think all of us had our moms make this first. So DS and Ruby and Archie, thank you for joining me on the stream. And until we eat again, have a wonderful week, and I will see you all later.
See ya.
Thank you. Thank you, DS.